This workshop's about Gothic lettering. Here's an example of a font that I've made that carves very well. Originally it was a pen letter, and you'll see lots of it around, and if you look online in books you'll see this sort of very strong formal script, which is called black letter often. Comes from about the 14th century onwards, picked up by the Victorians, very much so in their arts and crafts movement. There's capitals which are like this, which are very involved. I haven't been doing those. I've been doing much more of this sort of type of font where you get these strong verticals like this. So anyway, the Gothic lettering is quite an easy one to carve in some ways. There's not a lot of curves in here. You'll see at the base is like that, but the O's and the A's or whatever are done in this sort of fairly choppy sort of style. So I've chosen as a project this chair, which belongs or will belong to my grandson. He's got a new desk, and here's a chair for him, Logan, and I might paint the letters later if he wants it, but essentially I've just carved them into the back of the chair. So let's have a look at this script itself and how it actually works, how it will carve. I've based all my Gothic letters around this fundamental form. This is a letter O. Here's the header here, that's the top of all the rows of letters, and this is the footer here, that's the bottom. And the ratio of this O is 10, and there's 10 units from the header to the footer, and across here would be 6 units. So it's quite a tall, finished letter, and it's quite heavy here, but it follows the Roman idea of verticals being thick, and in this direction, top, left to bottom, right, thick, and then this way, thin. But that's also partly because of the way the pen would have written this originally. But that's the sort of shape. And to make it a little bit more different, or to make it different from one end to the other, what I've done is I've come down here 2 units and drawn a line, and then this outside edge is basically a pyramid that goes to the center line. And here's my thick, and here's my thin, and this bit here, you can see it must be offset. It's offset to one side. But to make it different, I've only done it slightly different on this side. So what I've done is I've started, instead of starting here at the 2 units, I've started here at 1 unit and made this a little bit shallower, but it still follows down and then comes up to the 2 units. So there's a little bit different on that end to this end, but it's cut in the same sort of way. So that's our fundamental form. So let's just have a look at how that might develop. If I wanted to do a letter B, for example, in this lowercase, I could just extend this up here and I have my B like that. What I've got to do now is find something over here, and what I do is I put a couple of cuts like this here, the decorative bits on the top, so you extend that, and there's my O going into my B. Similarly, I could come down here and I could put a couple down here, and I've got my P to see. So if I wanted to make a letter L, I've got to cut that off. I'm coming down here, across here, and here's my, we stop here, there's my L. And again, to make it a bit different, I'd put a little something like that on the end. So I've got an L. Let me just move on to something else here, just to show you how this might go on. Here's another example. And I really do encourage you to, I put one of these in the download, to sort of play around with this. You might come up with better ideas than I had. A letter H, of course, is the upright, and then here's the 2 bits down here. So my upright would be here. And it would come along here, and it would stop, I'd have to stop here and lose that bit in the middle. So what I would often do, or what I've developed, is to put a little diamond bit on the bottom here. So the H comes down there like that, has my 2 bits up here, it comes up there down here, and then here again I've made a sort of little cut like this. So I think you can see that all this then, down here and down here, that's my lowercase letter H. And if I do something here, like that, then I've got a letter N. If I remove that bit there, you see there's an N there. And if I double up on this, like that, obviously I'd straighten that, there's my M. and of course a W with the other way up. So let's just, you see there's another sheet here. So W, here's the upright. Then if I did this, there's my W. I'd have perhaps the diamond here, perhaps a diamond here, and then I'd have one of those there. That's arbitrary. I've made that up. One of the things that does happen on this letter O, which is quite a nice touch, is because it's a pen letter, you often see a little bit that comes off here. That's because the pen has come along, and similarly here. So I often put that bit in, and you can find places, like in this W again, you find places where the pen might go like that or like that, and that's up to you how you want to play it. I've drawn in my header and my footer line between which the main letters lie. So I'm going to do one. This will be the outside line of the letter. Now I know that the letter is this wide because I measured it, so I'll use my compass here, and I can use this to get all my letters the same. Here's my outside. So this is now the outside of the letter, and I can put in I'm just doing this by eye, put in the uprights. So these are the uprights here for the two sides of the letter. A way of finding the centre, if you remember your schoolwork, is to do your compass here like this. So there's the centre. So there's the centre at the top, centre at the bottom. Now I've also drawn in this line, which is 2/10 of the way down, and so bottom right, top left. So that's my thick, and that should be the same thickness as this upright. So that would come up here, and then I'll just join that to that. It's about halfway. So we've got this short one here and a long one there. And here I've made my 1/10 and 2/10 here. So that gives this a slightly different. Now this is the thick one in this direction. Again, I do this by eye, but that would be the same thickness as that. And then I'm filling in here. So again, a short. So two thick uprights, two thick angles here like this, and two thins joining it together. So you have this odd looking, but really quite interesting looking sort of hexagonal. That's your basic layout. As with all my letters, I'm going to take out the uprights first. So I'll pick a chisel that fits along there, down the middle. So one corner up to this corner, set in, cut to the right. It's an angle cut here. I'm sorry if I'm in the way of the camera a bit, but like that. Swapping hands, corner to corner. There's my bit there. This one on this side, you see, is a little bit shorter, this upright, so I think that might foul. So what I'm going to do, and this is what you can do if you don't have a wide enough one, I'm going to use a narrower tool. I'm going to put it in here, then shunt it up a little bit. So that would be the ideal width of the tool I have, the chisel. Corner to corner that way. And on the line this way. And then what I'm doing is I'm marrying up here as best I can down there. So I'll just clean that up. Okay, so there's my uprights. That's the first thing I need to do. So next I'm going to stab in these lines here. Let me just get the right tool here. So I'll put a chisel along here so that I'm stabbing in the centre lines there, also this little bit there, and similarly down here I'm going to stab in down there and up here. So these are stop cuts. That'll help me with the grain. I'm also going to put another one here into that corner, and another one into this corner, and then I'll probably put one over here. So I go around and make these little stab cuts like this. So I'm actually, you can see, going in the middle and then to the corners. I said I've gone outside of my line here, but that's me being a bit hasty. Ideally I should be on that line. I'm not quite sure why I've gone out, but that's the way it is. So now I've got my stab cuts here and I can start removing this wood. So what I would do is I would start from the wide ones and pull that back like this. I'll do it on this side. This is exactly a mirror image. So I'm pulling that back here with a slice. So that corner is going in there like that. And I'll pull that one in there. And also do it to this side here. So I'll pull those up a bit. And then I can start removing wood here. So like, let's show this one first. And down that side. Again, apologies if I'm in the way. And that, you see how the stop cut has controlled that fibre there and has stopped it from going into the outside, because you don't want it to go into this wood here. So now I'm cleaning up here, make sure that's, and then there's a little bit in there. So that's just your standard junction that you might have on a letter, any other letter. Then across here, take this bit out. And then that's a narrow going to a wide, so I've got to drop that corner in there. Take that out there. And then down here. So it's really a sort of chop, chop, chop. Pull it out. And then up, same on this one. Take some of this wood out here. And again, I'm going to get in the way, but let me just do that quickly. It is coming off. Sometimes, if that is difficult to get at in here, let me just say that you can use a skew chisel like that, or a fishtail chisel like that. Like down here, that might be better in there. So those are options. I'm taking this out now on this side. So that's the end wall coming up here. And the end wall is along here. So what's important is I am doing a bit of a slice. So I think you can see the tool goes across like this on this side. Like this. So that gives me a clean surface. Anyway, that's the basic letter format, and you're trying to get these. Obviously I've got, as I said, I'll leave that as it is, but that's wider there than it should be. This should be the same as that, but you probably wouldn't notice that in a letter, but generally you want to get this tidy in here, tidy junctions, this line in the middle, these parallel, and all this nice and clean. So you'd finish that off before you move on to the next letter. And I tend to do the uprights, and then I do all this bit working along all my letters. So having done that, let's see what else we can do with this basic shape. I'm going to show you how I carve this letter I, particularly so I can show you this little point here, this diamond top. I've got it upside down for me, but this sort of end here, let's just deal with that first. This could be the end of an F if it was reversed, or as you can see it's an L. It's at the top of a C, again reversed. So this sort of movement here, the thing I'm doing here, that's a very useful part of the Gothic lettering anyway. So you can certainly move these parts around to different bits of letters. So this time I'm stabbing in, coming right up into that diamond. Marrying those in. Just take a little bit more of that. Across into there. A little bit of a clean up. Okay, so for get the right tool. I'm going to carry on with my. This is just like the bottom of the O, that side. So I've done that, but this time I'm just going to leave that end at the moment. But I'm going to put my stab cuts in, and then we're going to start nibbling this out. Let's see. So the difference is, when I come to this bit here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a gouge, and I can make an angled stab cut in here like this. I'm going to have to use my mallet, like that. However long I want it, then I'll take out a chunk like this. And the thing is, I'm going to repeat this wherever, so that will be a fixed sort of element. So that's the bottom. Just need to clean that up a little bit. And while I'm at it, did you see that I made a bit of a, in my speed here, I've torn out a little piece of wood there, and that's the sort of place where this sort of little detail comes in handy. So that's exactly the same as we've done before, but just a little, like a little pen thing that you could do. So that might be a way of disguising that, but you'd have to do that on every element that is this angle here. Okay, so let's have a look at this top. This is a little bit of chip carving really, and we need a stop cut here. A stop cut out to the diamond there, and a stop cut out here. And then I'm going to go downhill, so I'm coming from the side first, the grain's going in this direction, push it down like that, this corner. And certainly a fishtail chisel is a good option here, but I think I still will find that the bottom is a little out of touch of the corner. So I've gone down as far as I can. I'm going to have to switch to a skew chisel, pick up that edge there. Now when I'm in here, what I mustn't do is this, okay, because that'll snap the tip off. So if anything that way, but never that way. That's a general carving thing. Not too deep, and we're trying to get all these to line up down the middle there like that. Okay, so there's this diamond, and of course you can, as I said earlier on in the previous video, you can use this in as a stop anywhere you like, and we could have stopped it by putting a sort of little version of those like that on that side. So it's another option. Anyway, so we've now got the various parts that go into making, you know, the twiddly bits on these Gothic letters that give them a sort of a lot of interest.